Darui was reportedly seen leaving the land of lightning. Our people lost track of him in the land of hot water, but we suspect he was meeting with whoever is going to be Kumo's front should they wage a proxy war, Tsunade explained. The information had arrived late last night, but Tsunade only learned of it when she arrived in her office. She promptly called for her teammates and her advisors. Should we assassinate him while he's away from the village? Hamura asked. They'd been beefing up their counterintelligence on the other villages, mainly their VIPs. Darui was the Raikage's number 2 and rarely left Kumo unless it was business that involved state affairs. Tsunade shook her head in the negative. There are a few issues with that course of action. 1. We may have information on the route he traveled to hot water, but there is no guarantee he'd return that way. Secondly, my agents informed me he was not alone. Couple that with being one of the most skilled and powerful shinobi in Kumo's ranks, we'd have to be very selective about who we sent after him. Tsunade reasoned. Surely Team Kakashi or Team Guy would suffice. Both teams have 2 jounin with the younger ones being prodigies, Hamura continued but frowned when he heard Jiraiya scoff. Is there an issue, Jiraiya? I just think we're throwing around the word prodigy a little loosely. But, more importantly, we know Darui isn't alone. That doesn't tell us how many people are with him, and I'd put good money on him being escorted by Kumo's ANBU. How confident are you that either Niji or Sasuke can handle multiple Black Op ninja, cover their teammates, and be ready to assist Guy or Kakashi should they need to? If we send too large a force, they'll most assuredly tip them off, assuming we know where he'd be, and we'd be unable to cover it up. I would have justification to retaliate and we'd look like the aggressors, Jiraiya argued. It wasn't just their commitment to peace that kept Konoha from visibly initiating inter-village conflict. Much of their branding was being the kinder, gentler ninja. It earned derision from the other villages, but the number of contracts Konoha received yearly supported their method. Those contracts meant their genin got less risky and violent missions to start, allowing them to mature and grow instead of the harsher experiences of the other major villages. It is also believed Darui is a moderating voice in their governing structure. If he's gone, we lose someone that may be advocating to avoid this unnecessary conflict, thereby ensuring it will come to pass, Tsunade added. This does seem to support the idea that Ai is looking for a smaller village to do his dirty work, Koharu interjected. The question is, which one? Claw and Fong can be ruled out as if either diverted attention to Oto the other would attack them, Hamura stated. Not Taki, not since Team 7 saved that cowardly leader. Though they didn't exactly ingratiate themselves, so maybe we could do something to firm up that relationship, Koharu continued. Do you have any ideas? Tsunade questioned. Well, we have a highly trained Jinchuriki, maybe he could share some tips with their own, Koharu suggested. It'd be a show of good faith. I'll draw up the offer today and inform Naruto if Taki agrees. Now, I doubt it's Kusa, but Jiraiya, if you have the resources, have your network pay attention to them, Tsunade ordered. Sure, I'll get right on it. Just another gift of Orochi's misadventures while in Nuknin. I figured the gallant Jiraiya would commend me for rescuing a young girl from being sucked dry. Or is that, like almost everything that comes out of your mouth, complete self-aggrandizing nonsense? Not to mention, she is Naruto-kun's clansman. You didn't have to kill her entire team, Jiraiya pointed out, not even annoyed at her barb. I don't have to do a lot of things I do, but it was faster than negotiation and she wanted to leave, so it all worked out. Okay, enough, you two. We can be reasonably sure AIM won't help Ai. Konan-san may not like us, but I doubt she avoided an invasion just to start a war. Could I have formed a coalition of smaller villages? Hamura asked. He doesn't strike me as one for diplomacy, if sensei is to be believed. Finding a village with an existing grudge is one thing, but bringing others along for a shared vision? I doubt it. His ninja are conditioned to put up with him, but I can't see others following suit, the Godame answered. The meeting continued for a time until Tsunade called an end. There wasn't much to take away from it except for how much the parties involved didn't know, something none were overly comfortable with. As the advisors departed, Orochi was held back at Tsunade's request. Koharu and I are having a ladies' night, so you have to be there, she said. I have plans, Orochimaru responded. No, you don't. I can always tell when you're lying, so you're coming, even if I have to drag you there. Strongest of the Sannin my ass. Like I told that pervert, anytime you want to test the claim just let me know. I'll be taking you up on that, but not tonight, Tsunade rejoined and saw her friend looking reluctant. Come on, it'll be fun. You can invite Anko if you want. Fine, but I am not drinking, Orochimaru said, causing Tsunade to snicker. The snake Sannin did not handle alcohol well, and the last Senju always found it adorable. We'll see, Tsunade whispered as her oldest friend departed, looking forward to getting her sloppy drunk and then prying details about her new relationship out of her. So. Mokutan, the lazy Nara, air-drawled. His most troublesome teammate informed him of the fruits of his training trip, and Shikamaru almost walked off at the absurdity of it all. Especially when Shino relayed how he discovered Naruto's ability with the most vaunted nature release in the entire village. The three laid underneath the early morning sun at their team training ground. Created an apple tree? Shika said, words dripping with skepticism. To impress your new girlfriend? Who is Orochimaru of the Sannin? You knew I had feelings for her before I left, dummy, Naruto retorted. I thought it was one-sided, a crush. Besides, she stabbed you. That was a misunderstanding. She threatened to kill Mai and Shino's entire clan, Shikamaru continued. She was just playing. Shikamaru ignored that asinine response. And you're happy? We just started dating, Shika, but yeah. Fine, I approve. Oh, no warnings of her dastardly evil plans? Nope, however, my acceptance comes with a price. You're my friend, bastard. No, it doesn't. It does. She knows as well, and because you're our friend, you'll do it without complaint. Naruto propped himself up on his elbows as he stared at his friend, curious what the pineapple-haired boy could want. Shikamaru never took his eyes off the few clouds that could be found in the sky, but he felt Naruto's gaze. He decided to drag the weight on for a bit, just to mess with his teammate. You're going to host a party tonight. Team Asuma, Team Kakashi, and Team Guy will be in attendance. Maybe a few others. Nope. Naruto said emphatically. No complaining was a condition, Naruto, Shino chimed in. I haven't complained, I just denied the request, the Uzumaki corrected. Troublesome, how are you going to be Hokage if you aren't even known by your own generation, Naruto? You need to start building a reputation and connections, Shikamaru started, or if you don't want to do that then just tell everyone the fourth is your father. How did you figure it out? Naruto asked, and he saw both his teammates smirk. With great effort and even greater care, was Shino's reply. It wasn't easy, you two look more alike now than you did before you left. My question is, why didn't you tell us? I'll answer your question with a question, Shika. What was your first response when you confirmed the Yondaime was my father? Shikamaru didn't answer, but the grimace Naruto saw on his face was all he needed. That explains it. Or something to that effect, right? Naruto asked, rhetorically. I was already under one shadow, I didn't want to be under another, and I didn't want people thinking all my effort was basically worthless when compared to the obvious genius I inherited. It's bullshit, and even you, knowing me better than almost anyone, couldn't help yourself, Naruto said, looking at the sky. I don't still believe that, Naruto, Shikamaru defended. I didn't suspect you did, but not everyone is you. If my abilities aren't attributed to the Kyuubi, then they will be laid at the feet of my father's legacy. I respect him, but not so much I want him given credit for my hard work. Especially when you want to surpass him, Shino added, and Naruto nodded. Exactly. All the more reason to extend your network. If you will not have the benefit of legacy, then you have to become more visible, the Abure mayor concluded. Fine. I'm assuming you spoke with Tayuya and Karen about this, right? I don't want them surprised by this, it's their house too. Yes, I spoke with Tayuya and Karen and they consented. Ugh, alright. What do I need to do? Get the food, set up your backyard. Do you have a grill? I can get one, intending to experiment with his steel release to make one. Please do, Choji will man it. You will also need to come to terms with Team Guy, Shino added. I've come to terms, I'm not the one with the problem. And can you not see why they would have one? Shikamaru questioned. You didn't have to do what you did, you had other ways to beat Lee and Niji. I gave them a chance to concede. Neither of them took it, so how am I responsible for their refusal? To acknowledge you. Because that's what it was about. Two more Konoha ninja that couldn't give you your due, so you had to punish them for it, punish them in ways you wouldn't be allowed to otherwise. When did you become a Yamanaka? Naruto asked, and while he tried to hide it, both Shino and Shika heard the anger in his voice. Troublesome. Before you fly off the handle, I'm not saying you have to apologize. What you did was justifiable, even merciful, to enemy ninja. They were competitors, not enemies, and that's the difference. And if you just wanted to be a career jounin, it wouldn't matter, but you want more. People will fear you, Naruto, unless you give them a reason not to. People feared me long before I'd given them a reason to. Point of fact, they feared the QB. That fear has waned, but if it becomes necessary for you to demonstrate your abilities, those who have alienated you may expect and dread reprisals for their previous behavior, Shino interjected. What am I supposed to do? Shake babies and kiss hands? Just let the rest of the village get to know the extreme pain in the ass we've come to tolerate. That hurt, Shino. Kurenai-sensei did call you her problem child, Shika offered a support. She just said that because I'm her favorite, Naruto countered. I think it's pretty obvious I would be her favorite. Why? Because I am even-tempered, reasonably hardworking and low maintenance. Troublesome, it would be me. I'm the most naturally inclined toward her specialization. I don't get into stupid competitions, nor do I buzz like a low-powered vibrator. You familiar with the sound and various power levels of a lot of vibrators, Shika? I'd imagine he would be. Why? Sex would be too troublesome, Shino observed, causing Shikamaru to gain a look of annoyance as Naruto laughed. Asshole, Shikamaru said, though there was no real heat to it. Alright, enough about Shika's sexual inadequacies, gentlemen. We came here to train, so let's get wild, Naruto said enthusiastically, doing a handspring to return to his feet. If we run, would he follow us? Shikamaru whispered to Shino. Like a hound on a scent, Shino replied. I wouldn't have to, you bums. I've already tagged you both. Now, let's get after it. Anoki, the longest-serving Kage in the history of the Hidden Villages, was currently having a staring contest with his granddaughter. She often proclaimed she'd replace him one day, and he didn't doubt her potential as a kunoichi. It was her distaste for other considerations that gave him pause. But if she wanted to lead his village, he'd drag her along kicking and screaming. This was one such attempt, a strategy session. He needed to come to a decision regarding Konoha soon and felt it was the perfect situation to teach his granddaughter how a Kage must think. Well, the aged Sachikage asked. I say we stay out of it, let the tree huggers fend for themselves. And if they should lose? Better yet, if Konoha should fall, what then? Then they are gone and we'd have had no hand in it. And besides Konoha separating us, what would make Kumo and Iwa allies? You think they'd attack us after defeating Konoha? Kurotuski asked. I think if they were to claim that significant of a victory, we'd be foolish not to prepare. That still isn't enough reason to ally with Konoha. It's not like we'd get much out of it, it's just a mutual protection deal. Not even a trade agreement, Kurotuski answered, but scowled when she saw her grandfather shake his head in disappointment. She hated when the old man did that. An agreement of mutual protection is a trade deal. If any citizen from the land of earth or fire were to be attacked while traveling to the other nation, but villages would have the license to act, including merchants. As it is now, those that would risk traveling between our nations are not enjoying the joint protections, and therefore there is very little trade. Then join them. But Kumo has the strongest military force. The most ninja per capita, and the highest military spending of the major villages. Who knows what kind of developments they are making, what kind of breakthroughs they may share with an ally or use against an enemy. Then don't join Konoha and join Kumo. There is also Suna to consider. They are on an upswing, their Kage is young but powerful. Especially in the deserts of Wind Country. What do you want me to say, old man? What's the right choice? That's a matter of perspective. Many would claim Konoha had never lost a shinobi war, and in direct combat, that is true. However, after the First Shinobi War, the ironworkers that resided in the Land of Fire migrated to the Land of Stone. We saw an increase in the quality of our weapons due to their proximity, which increased the efficiency within our missions, and an increase in revenue. Konoha wins the Second Shinobi War, but AIM permanently closes its borders, and travel has to divert. The exchanges happening in the Land of Rivers is the seed that eventually causes Suna and Konoha to become an alliance. All from increased interaction and interdependence. What about the Third Shinobi War? Honestly, no one gained much from that. Konoha should have, but the rampage of the Kyubi just a few years after the war's end eroded any gains they could have made. There are a lot of ways to analyze this choice, and whether something is right or wrong is often a matter of execution of a decision, not the decision itself. Then what are you going to do? Kurotuski asked. I don't know, Inoki answered. He had a lot of information, but the key piece of the puzzle, why I was doing this, was missing. The fence-sitter wouldn't make a move until he knew why. He could tell his granddaughter didn't like that answer. She was decisive, preferring a fast and wrong choice to a slow and correct one. It was understandable, she was the type to face the consequences of her actions head-on. But sometimes caution, mapping out the angles before you moved, was the right course. She needed patience. Patience was not something Inoki lacked. It had earned him his nickname, what many said as an insult. What many people didn't understand was that power and authority could be felt in its action and inaction. By delaying a formal agreement with Konoha, Kuma was given the chance to make a counter-offer. That they hadn't did not give Inoki a clear window into Ice thinking, but that such a kid suspected it meant his fellow village leader was prepared to see this through. Confident he didn't need allies to accomplish his goal. But what was it? I had been amassing power, attempting to steal bloodlines for years. It was one of the reasons Inoki hired the Akatsuki, so he could better train and prepare his forces. But what was I after? Inoki doubted the Raikage believed he could truly destroy Konoha with Kumo's might alone. The Sannin, Hiruzen, and a cast of other elite ninja were enough to dismiss that idea. Then there was Konoha's Jinchuriki. If he didn't have it on good authority that Hiruzen and the Namikaze boy weren't on good terms, he'd swear the old monkey had attempted to create a shinobi in his own image. Mastering all 5 nature releases before adolescence, additional training by Hiruzen's very own students. Jinchuriki were supposed to be S-rank ninja because of their bijou, not despite or in addition to. If I were solely motivated to remove the boy from the board, Inoki would understand. It was one of the reasons Inoki hadn't shared Raza's file with anyone but his most trusted advisor. He hadn't told Rashi why he wanted Han and he to meet the boy, outside of being a fellow Jinchuriki. Inoki didn't blindly hate Minato, but he couldn't fault his ninja for doing so. One man changed the tide of the war and on his way to the Pure Land gifted his, apparently, genius son with the most powerful of the bijou. Inoki wondered if Kurotuski could stand up to such a ninja in the future. The future, the August Kage thought. All Kage dedicated themselves to that. Present-day strength was for the protection of the future. His mind, not dulled by age, spun rapidly. Could that be Ice goal? A war to remove Konoha's potential? Weaken them for a generation or more? Is that why the man doesn't care about creating allies? To win only requires the death of what, 10 to 15 ninja? It was just speculation, but Inoki had this feeling he was right. If so, it raised more questions and left the elder with even more plans to consider. But that was fine. He would only move at the exact right time and not a second before. So, should I make myself scarce tonight? Jiraiya asked his godson as several clones finished setting up for the gathering that was to occur later in the evening. There were now wood tables and benches under a recently created gazebo. Torches were set up but unlit for when the sun went down, and off to the side sat the concrete pit waiting to be lit for tonight's festivities. There will be other adults here. You can talk to them about how kids these days blah 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 blah, Naruto answered. Jiraiya matched Naruto's grin before feigning annoyance. I am so not one of those, back in my day, geezers. But you brats should respect the amazing, enviable, #1 gallant shinobi. And if you keep adding adjectives, I'm sure we will someday. Of course, someday we'll all be dead, but you have to think the odds are with you on this one. Was your mouth always this smart and I just never noticed? No. There was that period after you told me I was the shinobi messiah and I was too freaked out to be funny, Naruto retorted, and Jiraiya scratched the back of his head in shame. Oh, yeah. Enough of that, perv. I made my peace with it, Naruto admonished after seeing Jiraiya become sullen. Oi, stump, Naruto heard Tayuya call, not that it had been necessary. You ever get tired of her calling you that? Jiraiya asked. Yes, but I really don't want to encourage her to get creative, Naruto answered as they walked toward their just-arrived guests. Shika and Shino had arrived with Ino and Choji. Naruto smiled as he approached the group. Hey, guys. Welcome to my home, he greeted as he slipped into host mode. Across the village, several of the Leaf's most prominent women sat around a rectangular table. Sake, tea, and snacks were available as they watched the last of their party settle in. Kurenai sat down and an attendant prepared her tea and then exited. It is so lovely to see you all here again, Koharu offered, as she was the hostess of this gathering. She was transitioning out of public life, not that she minded. Tsunade had Jiraiya and Orochi to advise her, Shizen to temper her. It was long past time to allow the younger generations to come fully into their own. But she still had a lifetime of wisdom to share, so these gatherings were meant to make the generation after Tsunade's comfortable enough to seek her out should they desire to do so. She also hoped they would continue the tradition. Thank you for hosting us, Koharu-sama, Shizen replied, selecting tea over alcohol but knowing her teacher would do the opposite. Yeah, enough of this formal stuff. I'm here to relax, Tsunade cut in. Anko snickered at the Godame's brashness, Kurenai smiled politely but Yugao and Orochi had no outward reaction. If Mito-sama could see how boorish you behave, she'd cane you Tsunade-chan, Koharu responded. Don't be like that, I have to be formal all day, Tsunade complained. Kukuku, so much easier when you could just punch everything, Orochimaru observed. Exactly. Tsunade brightened as she answered. Koharu simply sighed and decided to move along. Kurenai, how are you, dear? Just really ready to not be pregnant anymore, honestly. If it isn't being as big as a house, it's all the people that hover over me like I'm made of glass. Asuma? Anko asked. Him and my boys, well Shino and Shikamaru. I wouldn't be surprised if I had a panther summons watching me, and I just don't know it, as well, the Genjutsu mistress said. It was voiced as a complaint, but no one missed the fond smile she donned. You settled on a name? Yugao asked. Mirai. Mirai Sarutobi, said Kurenai and got a round of approving words from most of the party, all but Orochimaru. The snake Sannin hadn't thought much about giving birth, not since she aborted her baby. However, that was before Naruto. She knew one of his drives was to have a family, and she wouldn't deny him that. In truth, if the two kept going how they were, she'd be pregnant sooner rather than later. One could forgive Naruto for being lax, as her supposed physical age would put her past any concerns about conception. However, that wasn't the reality, and she was fully capable of conceiving a child. Sensei? Anko called out, breaking Orochi from her thoughts. Where'd you go? Tsunade asked, the smug look on her face suggested the question was rhetorical. Wherever it was doesn't matter, you're falling behind, so drink up. The Sannin rolled her eyes at her former teammate as she took a saucer to her lips, downing the liquid contained therein. Happy? Ecstatic. The night progressed as their previous get-togethers had, the women sharing in their personal and professional developments. Tips and suggestions were shared, support given. Even with the haze of overconsumption setting in, Tsunade noticed Orochimaru had been more quiet than normal. Tsunade had watched her friend get more comfortable, or more accurate, watched as the women in this room grew more comfortable with her. Oi, Orochi, what's got you so quiet? Concocting a plot to harvest your souls, the Sannin answered and laughed at the looks being sent her way. Looks that couldn't dismiss her words outright but were betting she wasn't being serious. Pfft, you can have it. And then do all my damn work while you're at it. Although, you might have a fight if you try to take the hat, Tsunade announced. Kukuku, don't worry Tsunade-chan, I no longer desire that position, Orochi said to her fellow Sannin. The look on Tsunade's face told the snake summoner she'd clearly blundered into something. Oh, and what positions do you desire? Or is it more important about who you do them with? Tsunade asked. That's lewd, Tsunade-sama, Shizen admonished. Oh, Shizu-chan, that's the point. Besides, don't act like a prude. I know those extra long lunches you take aren't because you like to savor your food. Shizen went red at Tsunade's words. Don't be embarrassed, Shizen-chan. Genma is a fine, young man. Even Minato thought so, Koharu relayed and watched as the young woman nodded in acknowledgement. Yeah, Shizun. Hurry up and pop out some kids I can spoil. I'll make them poker aces by the time they can walk, Tsunade spoke, cheerily. She was genuinely happy for her student and friend, knowing the constant traveled had cost Shizen a lot. Tsunade wanted her student to take advantage of this stability as much as she could. You couldn't even make yourself one, Tsunade-chan, Orochimaru responded. The Senju gained a tick mark. That's because I have bad luck, not due to a lack of skill. Excuses, Tsunade-chan. I'm never too far from a deck of cards, Orochi. If you want, we can start up a game, though if I beat you, I'm sure as shit not taking you out for ice cream, Tsunade finished with a devilish grin. I'd never get any if it depended on your winning a bet anyway, Orochimaru returned. Tsunade pulled out her cards as she spoke. We're doing this, and don't go crying to your boyfriend when I spank you. All the women watched as the two most powerful kunoichi and possibly ninja period of the village bickered like children. It was Kurenai who dwelled on Tsunade's use of the word boyfriend and wondered if Naruto had already begun a relationship. She'd have to talk to her problem child soon. Kurenai didn't distrust the snake Sannin anymore, but it never hurt to stay on top of things. Yeah, Naruto. Do a cool lava jutsu. Kiba exclaimed. He realized his error when Sakura facebombed, Sasuke Tisuke and Kakashi-sensei sent him the "I'm totally going to kill you, but I'm pretending to be super chill" vibe. Was that still a secret? He asked bashfully, and even Akamaru walked away from his partner. Shikamaru grimaced. This night had been going so well. Choji and Naruto hit it off, as he suspected, and fell into an easy rapport. Team Kakashi arrived late, Kiba bringing a few kegs with him, but were genial. Even Team Guy had been pleasant, if a bit frosty, until Lee broke down and challenged Naruto to a youthful spar at a later date, which caused Guy-sensei to cry at the display. The plan was working. That was good. Better still was Temari was here, and Shikamaru got to relax with her, confident no one would do anything to make a scene. But things couldn't hold. He should have expected it. No one just becomes a jounin as a teenager. That is a mix of ability and drive, the same mix that points to an innate sense of competitiveness. Sasuke had it, Neji had it, and while well-hidden Naruto had it as well. The difference between them was that Naruto was competing with the Hokage, specifically the Nidaime, Sandaime and Yondaime. It wasn't arrogance, there just hadn't been a reason for Naruto to measure himself against his generation because the gap between them and who he wanted to surpass was immense. That's why when Sasuke showed off an impressive Katon Jutsu and Neji demonstrated the power of his vacuum palms, Naruto simply felt no need to follow suit. That simply wasn't going to do. Everyone in attendance, save Shino, and he, wanted to see the ninjutsu prodigy do something. Not used to this level of attention, Naruto got awkward and just agreed to get everyone to stop. The Uzumaki's mistake had been in asking what they wanted to see. Because by asking, Kiba gave him an honest answer. Naruto's blue eyes stared intently into Kiba's own. His posture was relaxed, and Shika didn't know if that was a good or a bad sign. What calculus was being conducted in the Uzumaki's brain was unknowable. As the moment stretched on, Shikamaru found aid from an unlikely ally. The secret is out, so just do the fucking jutsu, or don't and fuck him up, but take action, stump, Tayuya bellowed. Hey, now, there won't be any need for that, Jiraiya said, as if he were concerned Naruto might take option A and use it toward option B. Naruto rolled his eyes. He knew he'd likely start showing off his real abilities soon, he just wanted to gauge the reaction of those in attendance. Relax, Godfather. No one is going to attack anyone over a slip of the tongue. We're all comrades here, Naruto said. He then turned away from his audience and walked over to the pond. Flashing through a series of hand seals, Naruto performed the internal manipulation, adding pressure and heat to a Doton base. Dividing up the chakra into a semi-solid orbs and then launching a series of them from his mouth. The teams watched as condensed globs of lava tore upward, but that wouldn't be all. As they reached the peak of their ascent, they exploded into many smaller pieces and descended into the body of water like a storm of falling stars, causing steam to arise on contact. Lava style, meteor shower, Naruto said as he walked back toward his guests. Show off, observed Sasuke, and Naruto shrugged. That's how you got the lava ash? You bastard, I begged you to tell me. And Shika, you knew the entire time? Ino griped. I was sworn to secrecy. It was your secret, the Yamanaka exclaimed. Shikamaru laughed, his attempt to cover failing. It was too late. The troublesome blonde heard him and he'd pay for it tomorrow. Well, Naruto, it appears you are becoming slightly impressive, Kakashi observed. I'm glad you said so since you owe me a spar, Naruto replied. Kakashi took a quick look over to Jiraiya, the Sannin shaking his head no, and it confirmed his suspicion. Seems little brother wanted some revenge, but that was not the privilege of the younger sibling. Naruto. I'm terribly busy, you see. Kiba needs some remedial training, I have to prepare for when I escort Hokage-sama to Suna. Missions, my reading. I lead a very full life. If I didn't know any better, Nai-sama, Naruto's words laced with false innocence, I'd say you were trying to avoid me. And after 3 years away. That simply won't suffice, Tebeo. Wait, why are you calling Kakashi-sensei your older brother? Kiba asked. Naruto was tempted to inform the Inuzuka he'd be unlikely to answer that question to a loose-lipped lightweight but withheld the information. Since talking to Shika about why he hadn't told them, Naruto started to reconsider his reasons. No, he didn't want to be under his dad's shadow, but he was damn proud of the man. The Yondaime had been his second favorite Hokage, and he'd wanted to surpass him along with Tobirama-sama. And the truth was, he either could do so, or he couldn't. Trying to avoid the shadow didn't change that. Because Minato Namikaze was my father and his sensei. He saw the skeptical looks from those around him, except Temari. Naruto assumed Baki-san or Gaara told her at some point. No matter how close they got, the Uzumaki couldn't see Shikamaru sharing that information with her without talking to him first. It's true, Jiraiya announced, as he hoped to prevent anyone from saying something stupid. Then how come no one knew? Sakura asked in mild disbelief. You'd have to ask the old man, Naruto replied. The old man, do you mean Sandaime-sama? Tenten questioned. Naruto nodded. You should speak about him with more respect, the weapons mister scolded. As they were behind her, she didn't see Guy, Asuma, and Jiraiya tense. Naruto, however, had seen them and rolled his eyes. He wouldn't deny he could have a bit of a temper and hated the old man, but he wasn't a maniac. I've always called him that. If he had a problem with it, he'd say something. Still, his reasons were his own. It seems fate truly shined upon you, Naruto-san, Neji said with just a hint of bitterness in his tone. Sure. Naruto returned, having no interest in that train of thought. But Neji had other plans. Do you deny it? Trained by two of the Sanins, gifted like your father. Have you not been fortunate? Some good some bad, not really interested in taking a tally. If you need to believe some divine force has blessed me, then good on you. Not really my bag, though. The workings of fate are undeniable. Winners and losers chosen at birth. Yeah, I've heard this before. You were the winner, and I the loser, right? Or are you now the loser? Seems imprecise for a worldview. Those who deny fate are punished. Let Hinata-sama be a testament to that, Neji argued, the anger at Naruto's dismissiveness reaching a boiling point. Guy. You better shut that kid up, before I do it for you, Asuma spoke sternly. He wouldn't have his late student insulted in front of him, and Neji was old enough to be held accountable for his words. Maybe we should change topics, Neji. It isn't befitting to speak such ways about the fallen. I mean no insult, Guy-sensei. It is simply the truth. She actively rebelled against the Hyuga traditions, against her fate, and when the time came she was ill-equipped. Had she trained as a true Hyuga, she may have survived and lived long enough to lead our clan. Only Team Guy truly knew the complicated feelings Neji had about Hinata's death. In life, he hated her. She represented every source of unfairness and pain in his life. She rejected the Hyuga traditions in ways he'd never have been allowed to. The former seal on his forehead assured compliance. The resentment never truly went away, but he also never wanted her to die. His statements were not meant as an admonishment, but a warning. She tried to be something other than what she should have been and forfeited her life in exchange. It made him anxious to learn Hanabi planned to do the same, especially as he had a significantly better relationship with her. Your words are illogical, Shino said. It is a tautological fairy tale. To what end I will not speculate, but I will say, you know nothing of Naruto if you think he was selected a winner at birth, and the very idea offends me. I did not know Hinata-san well, but she died supporting her team and that deserves more than to be characterized as a failure of her abilities. Fuck yeah, you're being an asshole, Tayuya rejoined. Hey, don't talk to him like that, Tenten exclaimed. Or what, you tree-hugging bitch? Or Tenten never finished her statement as a foreboding wave washed over all. Shino and Shikamaru knew what that was. Not killing intent, but akin. It made you want to sit down, shut and obey, because the person who projected it meant business and would hurt you if you didn't. Beads of sweat appeared on several foreheads as a result, but the arguing stopped. Thank you, Shino. You, too, Tayuya, Naruto spoke calmly. A tone that didn't match the vibe he'd sent out. I won't argue your beliefs, Neji. I do feel fortunate the Yondaime was my father even if he only got to be so for a few hours. If my parentage explains something to you or sets your world right, fine. Whatever gets you through the day. I appreciate you all coming. Thank you for cooking choji, it was a meal to remember. I sincerely hope we can do this again, but I think at best we call it a night, yeah? Naruto created several clones to clean up after his gathering, one to see everyone off while he shunshined to the roof. He needed a little alone time. Tayuya and Shino retired to her room for the night, while Shikamaru and Temari trailed behind Choji and Ino. It was almost a successful night, Shika, Temari offered. Shikamaru awarded her with a smile. He figured she'd understand what he was doing. She'd likely had to do things to rehabilitate Gaara's image in Suna. I'd call it a success. Before his training trip, Naruto would have leapt over that table and beat Neji within an inch of his life. That's assuming he hadn't done it to Kiba. I'm almost proud of him. Temari laughed and Shikamaru wished he could elicit that response on command with how light it made him feel. I remember the first time I witnessed Gaara settle a dispute with just his words and no threats. The pride I felt was immeasurable, so I understand where you're coming from. Our troublesome redheads are growing up so fast. The pair moved about the village, the starlight of the village's outskirts giving way to the street lights of its urban core. Side by side they walked, talking around an issue neither wanted to address. Temari was to leave within a couple of weeks, returning to Suna. Shikamaru wouldn't be traveling with the Hokage's envoy. Kurenai-sensei's due date was just around that time. When she left, it may be quite some time before they saw each other again. And if something happened, if Konoha was pulled into a war with Kumo, it could be longer still, or never again. Shikamaru sometimes wondered if it had been better if he'd waited. The hidden villages were not in a period of stability. The current tensions could not continue without a triggering event occurring. Maybe he should have held off until those events transpired, had faith they'd both live through them. Of course, there was no guarantee she'd still be available or interested if he had. On some level, Shikamaru knew this was all pointless speculation. He wouldn't change things, but he simply couldn't turn his brain off as it churned through the possibilities. He could never know if he'd done the right thing or the smart thing. The Nara's thoughts were broken up when he felt himself being pushed. Years of honed reflexes allowed Shikamaru to right himself without any difficulty. He looked over to his companion in mock annoyance. You aren't going to figure out the world by the time we reach the embassy. Stop thinking so hard. I certainly won't now. What a drag. Shikamaru was rewarded with another bout of Temari's laughter. The next day found Tsunade at her private training grounds. As was her routine, Hiruzen was there as well. As the Sandaime had promised, he continued to train Tsunade even after she was named his replacement. Tsunade kept to the arrangement as she was seeing improvements in her long-neglected ninjutsu, non-medical, repertoire. It also allowed her to keep tabs on her sensei. She knew he likely still had some kind of plan to trap Orochi. Today, however, was different as the teacher and student had two visitors. Her ANBU alerted her that Jiraiya and Naruto were requesting permission to join her for the session. She granted permission and the two appeared before her in an instant. Both Hiruzen and her awaited an explanation, after an exchange of pleasantries, an exchange that was stilted and forced. It dawned on her that this may have been the first time Sensei and Naruto had seen each other since the latter's return. What's going on? She asked, breaking up the bickering duo. She saw Naruto scratch the back of his head, something he did when he was feeling shy or embarrassed. She couldn't for the life of her figure out what would cause that reaction. Then she wondered if maybe it was advice he sought. Maybe advice about a certain snake summoner. Just tell her, kid, Jiraiya said. He could never get used to when his godson got like this. Strongest shinobi of the village, but gets bashful over the weirdest things. So, Kakashi, let it slip, he's going to be one of your guards during the Chunin exams. Jiraiya, and I figured neither of us would be your second since we hadn't been informed yet. Yes, that's true, Tsunade confirmed. Well, the rakeage is going to be there, Naruto continued. If anyone else had said that, the implication of the statement would have caused Tsunade to lose her temper and beat them senseless for it. As if she couldn't handle I. Yes, he will. What's going on, Naruto? Well, I know you're super strong and all, but his lightning armor just presents a hard counter to your best abilities. Over my training trip, I developed some workarounds to his cloak. Jiraiya knows them, too, but since we won't be there, I was wondering if you'd like to learn them as well? Hiruzen had to fight back a pang of regret seeing the interaction between Naruto and Tsunade. He recalled the bright-eyed, little boy he used to regale with stories of the Hokage. The second and the fourth were always his favorites. Naruto idolized them, most residents did, but it was always different with the Uzumaki. To be able to teach a Hokage something, it would mean a great deal to him, and explained his manner. I certainly don't mind, Naruto, but how do you know your methods will work? Tsunade posed the sensible question. Naruto took a look at Jiraiya, and the Toad Sage nodded his head in support. Naruto took a deep breath before performing a sequence of hand signs. Immediately, the area surrounding Naruto exploded. When the dust settled, the San and Godame stood in shock as the Uzumaki was covered in red lightning chakra armor. The only way I could be, Tebeo.